So there are times to be positive and resilient, but there are also times to feel anger, frustration, and grief. There's room for all of it. It can feel really hard and overwhelming sometimes to hold space for all of it, but there is absolutely room for all of it, even though it doesn't always feel good to be going through it.
Welcome to the Injured Athletes Club podcast, the show that helps athletes cope with sports injuries and bounce back stronger. I'm journalist Cindy Kuzma.
And I'm mental skills coach Carrie Jackson. We're sorry you're here, but we're glad you're with us.
This week, Carrie is going to use her expertise in mental performance and injury recovery to answer another question from one of you out there, our listeners. But before we get to that, I want to share one other resource we have for you. If you go to our website, injuredathletesclub.com, and click on more resources, or go to buymeacoffee.com/rebound, you're going to find a recording of a webinar we did in the past on navigating the medical system. This is something that's going to be really helpful. We'll talk some about this today in terms of building a team, but we got experts, physicians, physical therapists, other people who are within the medical system and have experience helping athletes through it. They really did a great job of kind of demystifying some of the processes and helping athletes learn how to advocate for themselves in the system. And that can be really important when you're going through an injury. So again, that is at injuredathletesclub.com. Click on more resources or buymeacoffee.com/rebound.
This season of the Injured Athletes Club is brought to you by Lever Movement. The Lever system is an innovative way to reduce your body weight and the impact on your joints while exercising on a treadmill.
The Lever system is perfect for returning after an injury or break, or for adding volume or speed without increasing your risk of getting hurt. And it's portable, and you can set it up in less than 2 minutes. Use code TIAC20 to get 20% off your purchase. Check out Lever today and take your training to the next level. Yes, we are grateful to Lever Movement, and we're also grateful to Josie for sending in this week's question. And here it is. It's a little bit of a longer one, but there's so much nuance to it that I want to make sure we get all of it in there. So I'm going to read what we have here. Josie says, I've had the worst luck in the last 2 years. I had a knee replacement in April 2022 for a left knee that had had at least 6 scopes over a 10-year plus period, and it was finally ready to be redone. At last, I would be pain-free. I worked extremely hard to rehab so I could get back on my mountain bike and on the ice. I did eventually, but with a constant nagging pain. It turns out I had a fungal infection in the joint from the first surgery, and now I am facing 2 more major surgeries and possibly another knee replacement after that. I know you have a bunch of podcasts out there with athletes and their stories, but those types of stories don't make me feel better. They make me feel jealous of their teams of helpers and everything else I don't have. Maybe I'm just so frustrated and tired of hearing about all the happy ending stories. I know I have to keep positive and put in the work. I just feel exhausted. Rehab has been my sport for 2 years. Any suggestions? I'm open. Josie, I hope you're open for a hug because I really want to give you one right now. I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh. I know. And I so super love that you said rehab has been my sport, which is awesome, but for 2 years, not so awesome, right? Oh my gosh. So you have been through so much. And because of that, the very first thought I had when I was reading through this and thinking about how to respond, the very first thought I had was just that it's so important to have moments where you can pause all of the voices swimming around in your head, the hopeful and positive ones, as well as the discouraging and frustrating ones, and just sit with the fact that you have been through so much. You've been through so much, and you are doing an incredible job, and you have been doing that job for a long time. So it makes sense that you're going to have moments where you are absolutely exhausted and burned out from all of that hard work. Listening to other injured athletes' inspiring stories won't always feel inspiring. And you're not the first person that has felt this way by any means. It's really normal to feel envious and jealous when you hear about people that are on to their next chapter of their story while you're still right in the middle of the hardest part of one of your chapters. So how you hear and take in someone's story is going to completely depend on where you're at in your own injury journey. So there are times to be positive and resilient, but there are also times to feel anger, frustration, and grief. There's room for all of it. It can feel really hard and overwhelming sometimes to hold space for all of it, but there is absolutely room for all of it, even though it doesn't always feel good to be going through it. It's also, I definitely hear you when you say, talk about the challenges of putting your own team together. It is very challenging when you have to put your own team together. And you aren't alone in experiencing that either. It can be exhausting and overwhelming and frustrating. I often encourage my athletes that I work with to request that their medical providers communicate with each other to try and get on the same page and understand each other and support each other and reinforce what they're talking about. But despite my athletes' best efforts, that does not always happen, right? So you can, that's really a place where you're looking at what's in my control and out of my control. What's in your control is to make that request. It's out of your control whether or not they capitalize on it. And so what often happens then is if they aren't able to get on the same page or have, the time to have those, conversations with each other, you end up being the go-between, conveying messages between your providers and trying to interpret what they all mean in relation to each other. And that's very, very overwhelming and challenging. But here's the thing that I think is really important for everybody to know that's listening. Even people that have a team that you hear, you might hear, a story about someone on the podcast and that they have a team, they still have to do that exact thing. And I know because I've worked with a lot of athletes that do have a team, they're still having to navigate those same challenges. The part of the story you might not hear is how many people they had to go through or how many conversations they had to have or how much they had to advocate for themselves before they got that team totally dialed in. Some people get that team right away, and that's an amazing unicorn blessing, but a lot of them don't. A lot of them did a lot of work to get to the point where that was all dialed in. And it's just hard to feel like you have to do that work when you're also just trying to heal. But for a lot of people, that's part of the reality of their healing process is that they are doing that work. So the question to ask is, what is lacking in my support system, and from where and whom can I get the support that I need? And, another thing that your question made me think about for you is the idea of psychological flexibility. So psychological flexibility is one of the most valuable mental skills you can have. In our book, Rebound, we define psychological flexibility as the willingness and ability to adapt to changing circumstances by shifting your reactions, behavior, and perspective. So psychological flexibility is both the capacity to be aware and accepting of all of your emotions. You're not supposed to feel positive all the time. You will absolutely burn out on trying to stay positive all the time because staying positive 100% of the time is impossible, and trying to achieve something that is impossible is exhausting. Psychological flexibility is not about always being positive. It's about changing the narrative. A happy ending doesn't mean that it was the exact ending the athlete was hoping for. Part of psychological flexibility means creating meaning from things that feel senseless so you can better cope with those hard things in life. Your emotions are trying to tell you something, but so often we want to crush them down or look the other way. Your emotions are messengers, and in order to receive the message, you have to be willing to listen. The emotion of jealousy is sometimes a mask for other emotions like shame, anger, fear, or just feeling fed up. And if you listen closely, right, instead of squashing it down or making yourself feel guilty or feeling shame or pushing it away or looking the other way, if you listen closely, jealousy can help you understand what you need and then take action on that need to relieve that feeling. So my biggest suggestion to you is to give yourself a break and remind yourself that you have gotten through all of the hardest things in your life so far, and you will get through this too. And you are already doing a tremendous job working through all of this, because I know that you've been through a lot. And thank you so much for sharing this question, because I know, a lot of people are going to identify with this and get a lot from from listening to this episode. So we appreciate you allowing us to answer your question on the podcast.
Yeah, Josie, thank you so much for sending this in. And again, we are on your team, on your side, and we are grateful to you for being a part of this community. We're grateful to all of you for being a part of this community. We're also grateful to Jeremy Nessel. He is an important member of this community who makes us sound as good as we can every single week. We appreciate as well Lever Movement, our sponsor for the season, for making the show possible. You'll definitely want to click through to the show notes to learn more about Lever. And we'll also put a link in there to the Navigating the Medical System webinar that I mentioned in the intro. We have that and so many other great resources for you there, no matter where you are in your journey as an injured athlete. We'd love it too if you are in a place where the podcast is helpful to you, if you would subscribe to it, rate and review it, or send it to other injured athletes you know. If it is helpful at all at any point, it's great to have you spread the word. And don't forget that between episodes, you can join our Facebook group, which is also called the Injured Athletes Club, where you're going to find support and advice from other people who are right in the middle of it right now too, people who just get it. You'll get links to all of this on our website, injuredathletesclub.com. We'll see you there.